Hey everyone, I'm Kai Down, and today we're going to be checking out my Solar A1.6FBB-29 baritone. Let's first hear it in the context of a full mix. If you saw my Harley Benton Bass 6 video, you'll know that I'm a massive lover of long-scale baritone guitars, so when this one came up for sale, I hopped on it almost immediately. In terms of metal-oriented long-scale baritones, you've only really got three options. This guitar, the Sub-Zero Rogue 6, and the Schecter Hellraiser C6. The Schecter is missing some of the modern specs like locking tuners and stainless steel frets. The Sub-Zero can be a bit of a money pit once you start upgrading all of the parts in it, so this Solar seemed like the way to go. I've also been wanting to try out the Evertune bridge for quite a while now, and this guitar seemed like the perfect opportunity to do so. This guitar has a lot of the modern specs you'd come to expect of a guitar of this price point. Stainless steel frets, lumen lace side dots, and locking tuners. Besides that, we've got an alder body with a set-through maple neck, an ebony fretboard, and a flame maple veneer. The neck profile on this one is pretty much perfect for me. It's wide and flat, kind of like an Ibanez Wizard, but without being too thin and shreddy. The pickups are the Solar Duncan bridge and neck pickups. I was initially a little bit skeptical about these since for longer scale baritone guitars, I quite like the lower output vintage voice pickups instead, and I was worried that these were going to turn into a wall of noise. But I'm actually really liking how they sound so far, so I think I'm going to stick with them for a while. I would have liked to have seen this guitar come in Solar's other brighter colours, but this stealthy look is still pretty cool too. This guitar ships with 12 to 60 gauge strings in B standard. This seems like a bit of an odd choice considering that's the same string gauge and tuning they use on their shorter scale baritones, but it's an easy enough fix, so it doesn't really faze me too much. I had a bit of a tough time choosing what to tune this guitar to. Initially I was going to go for drop G, but then I found that tuning my 5-string bass down to G proved to be too low, and then tuning it up and then having the bass in unison proved to be too high. So then my two options were I could tune this to drop A with the stock strings, or I could tune it down to drop E. I already have guitars like the PRS SE277 set up in drop A already, and they handle it really well, so I wanted to see how well this one can handle drop E instead. I'm currently running Windspear's 15 to 76 gauge drop set, and that proved to be a pretty excellent choice. So as I mentioned, a big reason why I bought this guitar is because of the Evertune bridge. I'd heard Buster Oderholm rant and rave about them on Nail the Mix, and I've been excited to try one ever since. Well, I've been testing it for a few days now, and I can say that the Evertune is fully deserving of all the hype it receives. As I expected, it was pretty tricky to figure out how all the zones work with the Evertune, but after a day I was pretty comfortable with it. I was able to tune it down to drop E and change all of the string gauges with little to no issue whatsoever. I really like that you can run lighter string gauges on the Evertune, since you're not fighting the pitch drift as much. Let's quickly pull up the hyper-precise tuner in AMP so we can see just how much pitch drift we're getting. For reference, when I'm using my Harley Benton Bass 6, this pitch drifts up from about 20 cents all the way up to about 50. You'll notice on this solo it barely even goes up to 6 cents out of tune on the lowest string. Now let's address the elephant in the room, Solar's quality control. I was initially pretty skeptical of Solar's quality control, especially with all of the issues with cracked fretboards they had, particularly during the pandemic. After seeing how well Solar dealt with these issues though, it put my mind to rest completely. While I haven't experienced any cracking of the fretboard, this guitar does have a couple of QC issues that I would like to mention. The first thing I want to mention with the QC is the high string 12th fret was buzzing out a little bit, but once I'd upped the string gauges, this was completely fine. On the back of the guitar, you can feel a slight seam around the neck joint, but this is a very minor issue. Lastly, and slightly more seriously, I noticed that the strings were misaligned on this guitar. There's about 4mm more space on the bass side than the treble side. Now this is purely cosmetic and doesn't really affect playability at all, especially considering I'm not doing many bends with the Evertune system, but I reached out to Solar about it regardless to see what they say. First they instructed me to loosen the strings and manually move the Evertune saddles into place before tuning them back up again. Solar are now also sending me out an Evertune side clip, which forces all of the strings to be perpendicular to the Evertune bridge. This should clear up the rest of the issue, so I've got no worries about it really. It's also worth mentioning at this point, I've spoken to other owners of this guitar, and their guitars have been completely free of quality control issues. So all in all, would I recommend this guitar? Well, I'd say with the niche combo it's presenting, with the Evertune bridge and the 29-inch scale length, you'd be hard-pressed to find these specs at this price anywhere else. That kind of puts this guitar in a bracket of its own, so if that niche is something that appeals to you, then this is absolutely the way to go. Overall, this one is an absolutely stellar guitar and I am so happy with it. If you're interested in picking up one of these guitars for yourself, there's a link in the description box below. Thank you for checking it out with me.